August 2026 is looking hot. We're officially in the eclipse season with the first ever South Node Solar Eclipse in Leo since 2008 and the very last eclipse in Pisces, which completes the powerful 2-year-long cycle. Let's take a closer look at the most important events and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I am a traditional Western astrologer and astrology teacher. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you like my work and you keep coming back, please show your support by leaving a like, a comment, subscribing, and pressing that notification bell. Hype this video or say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant. If you'd like to work with me, the biggest announcement is the fact that my natal astrology course begins in early September. You can sign up and join the group of astrology enthusiasts, learn to read your chart, feed your curiosity. As long as you're curious, you stay young. As long as you're learning, you're improving. As long as you're improving, you're reaching your fullest potential. Astrology gives you the tools to understand the universe and how you fit with that universe, understand yourself, and understand how you can avoid the challenges or improve upon the challenges in your chart and maximize the opportunities your chart has given you. There is so much to be said. It's changed my life and allow me to guide you on this journey so it can change yours. Join us at anastasiadoesastrology.com. On there you can book a reading, you can pick up any of my products. Today, my candle or oil of choice is Mars in Scorpio. We are entering Mars in Cancer in August, and Mars is in its fall in Cancer, meaning Cancer is a very emotional, moody sign, and the planet of action tends to either suppress anger or shoot arrows at the loved ones. So a lot of times there is a danger of being passive-aggressive, conflict avoidant, and struggling to find willpower and desire. Mars in Scorpio is Mars in its domicile, also in a water sign. So it's like ninja, really good at setting a goal and achieving it. So it can boost your courage, discipline, and passion. It's also really good for fitness goals and for bedroom activities. So thank you for listening to my announcement. We're going to take a look at August as a general overview, and then we'll take the most important events of the month through all 12 zodiac signs. I do personal horoscopes, so if you wanted to work with me, you can become my VIP subscriber and meet with me once a month to discuss what's coming up for you, or pick up another horoscope subscription. I have a general subscription that includes updates, just sort of general astrological updates for everyone. And then a more personal written horoscopes at the beginning of every month, plus the general updates. Each subscription builds upon one another like Matryoshka, the Russian doll. So they all fit one another within. Okay, so we're coming out of a very interesting month. July had so many outer planetary alignments. We had the first Uranus-Pluto trine. We had a Jupiter-Pluto opposition. There were all these aspects between Uranus and Neptune, just a lot of outer planets. The beginning of the month had that Mars-Uranus conjunction. Jupiter was in Leo, maybe encouraging you. Jupiter just began, let's say, its year in Leo, introducing you to be big and bold and noticeable. You potentially had more opportunities to be in the spotlight, but maybe dealt with some breakdowns, challenges, especially early in the month. And let's not forget, we also had Mercury retrograde. I am actually filming this as Mercury still retrograde. So if you have anything to share about July, I am always more than happy to listen. So we enter August in the middle of Leo season. The sun is in Leo. The sun is bright and it's scorching and, you know, very, very warm, at least it is right now in New York City. So the sun is in Leo, and that is where the first eclipse of the month is going to occur. To just give you a brief breakdown before we start going chronologically. So Leo brings, again, this sort of strong awareness of the individual talents and how by being our better self, we can better serve the collective and help the world at large. We also have Venus in Libra pretty much the entire month. This is a beautiful sort of for the most part, happy point this month, besides the fact that she's going to oppose Neptune on the 10th and Saturn on the 21st. And then Mars is entering Cancer, as mentioned, could be a little bit tricky. Virgo season begins later in the month, and the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th completes the Pisces eclipse series. Saturn and Neptune are retrograde throughout the whole month, so we'll leave them be and do their thing as they get engaged with other planets. Even when there's not much to say about Saturn or Neptune, they're still in the mix, making aspects, taking names, right? So let's talk about August chronologically. August 6th, Venus enters Libra. She stays there until September 10th. She enters her shadow on August 31st. So Venus is going to go retrograde later in the year, between October 4th and November 14th. In August, we have a rather happy Venus when she's in Libra, so from the 6th until the 10th. As mentioned, she does make some difficult aspects, but generally Venus is in her domicile. She's in charge of beauty and love and harmony and get-togethers, so you will enjoy this sort of more generous and social and exciting attitude that Venus brings. You may notice your relationships prosper. There might be more opportunities to go out or build partnerships. August 6th, we also have the Sun trine Saturn, 3 days before, 3 days after. This is a really good time to express your authority and seek recognition. You may, in fact, notice that people in power are more supportive of you, more likely to lend you a helping hand, provide you with a resource you need. So it's a good time to teach others, to ask for more responsibility, ask for a promotion, and take slow and steady steps to sort of reach your goals. On August 9th, Mercury leaves Cancer. Finally, it's been in Cancer for 2 months. So much sensitive communication, words charged with so much feeling right now. And then on the 9th, Mercury enters Leo until August 25th. It's going to be in the bright solar sign of the Lion. I always think of Barack Obama and how charming and charismatic he is in his speech. And he's a Mercury in Leo person. So what are we going to do with this by transit? So it's a really good time to speak publicly, to present your ideas, to film yourself, to give toasts at parties. You are grand. If you're a writer, you will notice that there is more charisma, more kind of like better ability to tell jokes. You're just a lot more charming in your speech, and you're more likely to be like the life of the party. And so this is from August 9th until August 25th. On the 10th of August, we have two very different Venus aspects. She first trines Pluto, which could be the sign of intense passion, intense inspiration, new relationships, fascination, something is really exciting to you. And then she opposes Neptune, right? Very shortly after. My screen has just gone dark. Like, I'm sure the video you're seeing is not that dark, but it looks like I'm like filming in the darkness. So Venus trines Pluto is good, but then she opposes Neptune. So there may be this sense that you get excited, you get passionate, you maybe feel like impulsive and driven to do something, but then as Venus opposes Neptune, the immediate result is disappointment, disillusionment. It's like, oh, I'm gonna color my hair purple, and like, oops, purple maybe is not my color. Should have at least like put some purple swatches. What are they called? Like paint swatches, or worn a purple wig. The same goes for love, right? Sometimes with Venus trine Pluto, you may be like, oh, this person is the love of my life. Let me tell them how excited I am to get this relationship started, and you realize that no, actually this person is not the love of your life, and maybe this was not the best idea. I am just gonna raise the brightness of the screen for a second, so forgive me. I am here. Okay. Forgive the interruption. Okay, I think we should be good. Hopefully. I'm like, what is going on with this screen? On August 11th, Mars enters Cancer, where Mars will stay until September 27th. Mars is in its fall in Cancer. On one hand, it will give you an ability to nurture your projects, nurture your relationships and your passions into existence. At the same time, your drive and your energy is a lot more subject to mood swings, and you're more kind of like up and down. There's some days when you're very driven and very able to accomplish things, and other days you just need a nap and it's impossible to push yourself to do much. So you'd have to be aware of that, and you kind of have to watch out for being too defensive, too sensitive, and moody, for sure. And that's why my candle of choice is Mars and Scorpio for this period, because I think it could help a lot. August 11th, more things. Mercury opposes Pluto, intense conversations, power struggles. Use this energy for conversations with a therapist and maybe healing, and hold off on kind of a tendency to manipulate people and be too forceful and too pushy. Be careful with this. Mercury trines Neptune shortly after on the same day, August 11th. So as long as you stay high-minded, soulful, spiritual, and kind of caring and giving, you should be fine. Venus also trines Uranus on August 11th, and that could be very like refreshing, exciting energy for your relationship. So you will enjoy trying new things, doing fun things, experimenting in the bedroom, dating fun and unique people, I think. On August 12th, eclipse season begins with the first solar eclipse in Leo on the South Node since 2008. So we're talking about long time ago. We're entering the Leo Aquarius eclipse series, and they will definitely have similar energy to 2008, 2009. This one is interesting because it's a new beginning in the Leo sector of your chart that encourages you to step into the spotlight, to draw attention, take risks, create, perform, and express yourself. But because it's conjunct the South Node, there may be a sense that before you get to that place, you first have to release something. There may be this kind of understanding that old ideas, old images, people pleasing, attention, just like purely for attention behaviors no longer fit you. So this is like a new beginning, but South Node always has the energy of you have to release people pleasing, you have to let go of old masks and connect with your heart-centered self-expression. It's almost like, how can my gifts help others? Or how can I have 3 people that I trust and love instead of having 20 people that I trust and love? Because maybe it's like, you know, if you're planning a party, is it better to just fill the room with people that fill space, or is it better to have a small group of people you really love? And so the same, you're kind of looking at like, this is my identity. Who am I? Let me narrow it down instead of expanding it to fit things that maybe no longer align with who you are. Mercury sextiles Uranus on the same day, August 12th, 2 days before, 2 days after. Your speech sparkles. There may be exciting, stimulating conversations. A really good time to kind of have an eye-opening discussion with someone, to explore astrology, spirituality, tarot. Sign up for my class. My natal astrology course begins in September. Kind of your psychic talents can be heightened around this time. August 13th offers an opportunity to express your feelings to someone, to start a new writing project and connect with others as Mercury sextiles Venus. On the 15th of August, we have a Mercury-Jupiter conjunction, a really beautiful time for making plans, buying, selling things, starting a new course of study. Again, forgive me, but I am really excited about teaching, and I think as someone who watches astrology a lot, you can benefit from it too. But it is a good time. Mercury conjunct Jupiter, there may be good news, there may be positive developments in sales, technology, all kinds of conversations, and like business partnerships are more likely to go well. August 17th, Mars will square Neptune. This is tricky because there may be a sense of like low energy, disappointment, uncertainty. I think impotence is a perfect word for Mars Neptune square. It doesn't have to be a literal physical impotence, but there is a sense that something you were aspiring towards get blocked, and a lot of times it's because of your own self-doubt and your own uncertainty, or it's because of someone else. It happens on August 17th, but give it 4 days before, 4 days after, and it is easier to get sort of misled and duped by people, or upset by others. So beware of that. Mercury trines Saturn on August 17th, so at least you have supportive communication going for you. So there is a sense of like being able to talk things through, and it can also be a good day to file paperwork, to negotiate things, to maybe declutter or make some kind of decisions to streamline things. Venus also sextiles Jupiter on August 17th, 3 days before, 3 days before, 3 days after. And that is a kind of a positive spot, I think, romantically in this month, because Venus in a sextile to Jupiter can bring opportunities, creative opportunities, partnerships, relationships. It could bring a new relationship into your life and just offer exciting kind of like socializing, networking opportunities. And Venus is always good for love, beauty, and creativity. And Jupiter can bring good luck to that. However, on the 21st of August, a few days later, we have Venus opposite Saturn. So Venus goes through these steps, right? She like has to oppose Neptune, and then she gets some respite in a sextile to Jupiter, trine to Uranus, but then she has to oppose Saturn again. So the opposition between Venus and Saturn can be like getting a bucket of ice cold water dropped over your head and having to realize that the vision you built in your head, especially with Venus in Libra, Venus in her domicile, very romantic, very rosy, lovey-dovey. So the vision might not pay off. There may be this rude awakening, cold shoulder, right? You realize that the relationship is blocked, that there's a challenge, that even at its best there might be a challenge that you have to move through with your partner, and realize that life is not just unicorns and rainbows. I got Venus in Virgo. I'm very familiar with life being different colors. So it might be a moment of a testing moment for your relationship, for your creative project, for your partnerships. But if you take time, show attention, care, and patience, you're likely to move past it and strengthen the connections that you have. And similarly, this can show up as a lack of self-love and just being really difficult and tough on yourself. And so do not do that. Work on self-love. August 22nd, the Sun enters Virgo to stay until September 22nd. August 25th, Mercury enters Virgo to stay until September 10th. So we have first the Sun enter practical, pragmatic. The party is over. Let's clean things up. Zodiac sign of Virgo. You become more analytical. You become more precise, perfectionist, detail-oriented. The fact that Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, joins the Sun on the 25th of August to stay until September 10th is a really positive sign, because it gives you the ability to be really good at communicating, to be really good at noticing those like pesky little details. It could be a great time to, look at your screenplay, look at your website, approach it through organize your stock, do inventory, all of that. I'm like talking to myself, but it's a really good transit for editing, for narrowing down, for purifying. And maybe you can do that whatever Virgo is in your chart. If you're an Aries rising, it's your health sector. If you are a Gemini rising, it's your home. If you're a Sagittarius rising, it's your career, etc. And then we have the lovely Mercury Cazimi on the 27th of August. So this is this sort of moment of clarity inside. You're at your most bright and brilliant around this time, and decisions, conversations, plans that you're making at this point are extra likely to find their place and success. Our second eclipse of the month occurs on Friday, August 28th, and this is the final eclipse. It will be 27th if you're like anywhere west of New York, but if you're in Europe, then it's the 28th. The very last eclipse in Pisces. We've already had the nodes leave Pisces and Virgo, and now we are wrapping it up with the final eclipse in Pisces. Next year, early on, we're going to have the final eclipse in Virgo. So here you're looking at the end of the storyline that began in September 2024. Something in the Pisces sector of your chart is reaching completion. There could have been a dream that you've been working on that is now fulfilled. There could have been a sense for better, like a need for better balance and rest and better flow in the Pisces sector of your chart that you have now accomplished. A lot will depend on the specific house. I will break it down when I go through the zodiac signs. If you want to know specifically for you, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. We can take a close look and analyze it together. On the 28th, we also have Mercury square Uranus. The Sun also squares Uranus because the two just had the Kazemi moment, right? So they make aspects basically side by side. It's an interesting energy to have on the day of the eclipse, right? The eclipse is ruled by Jupiter in Leo, but Mercury and the Sun both square Uranus. There is like a plot twist energy to this eclipse. There could be some kind of breakdown in communication, maybe a breakthrough in communication, things going one way, and then suddenly they completely turn around. Like you were supposed to be an extra on a TV show, and then suddenly you become the lead, and you're like, oh wow. Or the other way around, you were supposed to be a lead, and then you have to become an extra, and you're like, should I just go film my own series? Stay flexible, stay open-minded. Eclipse is generally not the best time to make big decisions. It would do you more good to hold off and just allow things to unravel, but a lot of flexibility will be required of you. That's 100%. And just slamming myself into the table. And the month wraps up and ends becomes rends. The month wraps up with the Jupiter-Saturn trine, which is a really nice one, and it's one of three. We're going to have Jupiter trine Saturn again in April 2027 and then July 2027. And this is a really good transit. I think it gives you patience, and it connects your optimism with your realism, your patience with your exuberance. And those two work together, and it's easier to build towards something if you're able both to see the big picture and notice what needs attention and what needs to be worked on and fixed. So it's quite exciting, I believe. So I am born with Jupiter Saturn trine, kind of, not by degree but by zodiac sign. Still counts in some towns of astrology. So there is, it's a good transit to be purposeful, to set goals, to problem solve, and especially good for any maybe housing matters, real estate, moving, setting on journeys, problem solving. Could be a good time for long-term vision and working towards it. So this is it for the main events of August. We're now going to take a look at the most important ones. It's not going to be all of them because the time is limited, right? But if you wanted to talk to me face to face, you can become my VIP subscriber and get 30-minute readings every month where we discuss your month to come and any questions you have. You can also pick up my products. I recommend Mars in Scorpio, and register for my upcoming natal astrology class that starts in September. So let's begin. I recommend listening to your rising, but sun and moon are fine too if you resonate with those more. If you are an Aries rising, in July there was a lot of focus in your Gemini sector with Mars and Uranus. You may have been busier, your mind more electric, which could have been good for a lot of ideas, but maybe tricky in terms of being overwhelmed and anxious, right? Sometimes it can just like speed things up. The sun in Cancer and the new moon in Cancer and Mercury retrograde brought a lot of questions around home and property. You maybe found yourself wondering where you see yourself, where a true home is, who is it with, and maybe considered changing your living situation somehow, transforming your home. Venus spent most of the month in Virgo in your 6th, helping you perfect and improve your health routines. And then we've had an interesting Leo season, as well as Jupiter in Leo. And then South Node entered Leo, North Node entered Aquarius, activating your axis of personal pleasure, with Jupiter and the Sun in Leo really encouraging you to have fun, dress up, dance, go out, explore, be childlike and playful, as well as potentially spend time with children. And North Node in Aquarius in your 11th house also said, how can you use those gifts and your knowledge and your talents to make the world a better place? So in August, all of that continues to develop, especially as we get into the eclipse season, which is where very much August is the eclipse month. But first of all, we have Mars in Gemini until August 11th, still in your 3rd house. It gives you the energy to get things done. You're writing more, you have more ideas, you're moving around a lot. Be mindful of moving a little slowly, hold off, don't drive too fast, right? Be kind of more, I have this like batch of hair that just keeps getting in my face because the fan is blowing it into my face. Don't move too fast, and make sure that you're meditating and grounding yourself, because there could be a lot of busyness in the mind until August 11th. Jupiter, the Sun, and Mercury starting August 9th and until August 25th are in Leo in your 5th house. There's continuous focus on pleasure. The first eclipse happens here on August 12th. This is, in fact, the first South Node Solar Eclipse in Leo since 2008. So if you reflect on 2008, 2009, if you were a grown-up around that time, maybe something comes to your attention, right? We've had the solar eclipse in Leo here on August 1st, 2008, and then there was a lunar eclipse in Leo on February 9th, 2009. So what does it mean? There is a lot of focus on pleasure right now, and it's very individual. It's very much about like what makes you happy. What is what makes you feel like joyful like a child? I'm just gonna hold it. Just gonna sit like this. No, it's okay. But like 5th house, there may be a new love coming into your life. You're maybe becoming a parent. You're conceiving of a writing project. You're experimenting and exploring and welcoming like new interesting ideas. But then the solar eclipse arrives and it conjoins the South Node, and it says that before you are able to reach those goals, you first need to examine which of them are authentic. And so in the process, there may be some kind of like, first you get a clear space. South Node is always about cleansing. So it's like the new beginnings that come from letting something go. It could be your people-pleasing tendencies. It could be a relationship that doesn't recognize your kind of, if there is any friendship or romantic relationship that doesn't support you, doesn't fulfill you, it may be the time to let that relationship go. You're examining outdated personalities that you've been wearing, and maybe figuring out which one feels close to who you are and which one no longer feels close to who you are. The transit I'm really quite excited about this month is Venus in Libra between August 6th and September 10th. She is in your 7th house, in the house of relationships. And again, with that South Node and Leo season in your 5th house, simultaneously with Venus in the 7th, could there be something new? Could there be a new love brewing in your life? Could there be a new partnership that Venus brings you? A new client, a new contract, a new agreement, something fresh. Fresh, certified fresh. But Venus in Libra is really good for harmonizing, getting along. You just have to make sure that you're not leaning too heavily into the shadow side of Libra, where you become a people pleaser and you just become so conflict avoidant because you don't want anyone to disagree with you, or you don't want to deal with a conflict because it makes you feel uncomfortable. Sometimes moving through difficulty and actually addressing uncomfortable things can lead to better relationships. And tensions are likely around the 10th and the 21st of the month as Venus opposes Neptune and Saturn in your 1st house. You may deal with tensions between agreement and relationships and like your personal needs and your personal goals, and there might be this sort of sense that you cannot completely sacrifice your goals for the other person, or vice versa. You cannot completely, sacrifice the other person for your goals, so you'd have to find balance here. Venus enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st and gets ready to retrograde later in the month. Actually in October, but later in the year. So pay attention to everything that happens after August 31st, because that's going to be the things, partnerships, relationship conversations that you will be revisiting. Chances are that for some of you guys, people from your past are gonna begin knocking on your door pretty soon. Mars, your chart ruler, is entering Cancer on August 11th and going into your fourth house until September 27th. Mars in Cancer, you are becoming, it's your chart ruler, so where Mars goes, you go. You're becoming a lot more insular. You're becoming more driven to spend time at home, to connect with family, or maybe actually traveling to see family. Changes in the home are likely, opportunities to move and change your living situation. Mars is in its fall in Cancer, so the risk is always being conflict avoidant. You become more moody, your energy levels are like to go up and down. My candle of choice that I'm recommending for this is Mars in Scorpio, because this is Mars in a trine to Mars in Cancer, so it harmoniously connects to it, and it's Mars in its domicile, very strategic, good at setting goals and persevering. Because the risk here might be, tensions within the family, some unspoken, unresolved things, saying hurtful things, hurting people that you're meant to protect and defend. This is like snapping at your child and then really regretting it. So do your best to express this energy through like working in the garden, building a shed, decluttering your space, right? Like be conscious with it. The Sun enters Virgo on August 22nd for a month. Mercury enters Virgo on the 25th. The two conjoin on the 27th, all in your 6th house, helping you make improvements to your health, helping you be more on top of your work duties. Even if you're looking for work, this could be the time, especially around the 27th, as you get the news about the job that you've been applying for, let's say, or there may be some kind of positive developments around this time. I wonder too, with Mercury Cazimi and Mercury ruling your 3rd house of business and the Sun ruling your 5th house of pleasure, if maybe there are some kind of interesting opportunities to introduce some creativity to your work life, or introduce work that involves children, animals, taking care of people, maybe even some love, writing for a relationship focused magazine. But it's a good transit for improving your work situation. The conversations with colleagues will be better. You will be more aware of what needs improvement in your health, your diet. You're likely to begin eating healthier, get that lettuce out of the fridge, start making salads and things like that. And then we have, on August 28th, we have our final lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 12th house, completing chapters started in September 2024 with the first eclipse in Pisces. And you can even look further into 2023 when Saturn first entered Pisces. But here you're looking at a really, 12th house is our blind sector. It's the place where we put things that we don't want to look at. It's the house of self-undoing. So the lunar eclipse here can potentially bring awareness to what you have not yet processed. Maybe it's your tendency to be critical of yourself. Maybe it's your tendency to avoid conflict, or your tendency to people please, right? With your 7th house of relationships being Libra, you can probably be quite, good at shape-shifting and getting along with people and presenting a persona that they expect of you. Maybe there is a bad habit, like you almost quit smoking, but there's still 1 cigarette per week. Maybe it's like, that transit that you need to actually kick that bad habit to the curb. Breakthroughs and insights and therapy are likely. Realizations around pleasure and love and joy, and where are you not having enough joy versus where are you having too much joy. All of that could be coming up for you. Share your thoughts, Aries rising. Come study astrology with me. We begin in September, and pick up this beautiful Mars and Scorpio candle. Really good for you. Exalted Mars is good as well for this period, especially because you're a Mars-ruled individual. If you are a Taurus rising, in July, there was a lot of focus on your financial sector with Mars and Uranus here in Mars-Uranus conjunction. You maybe had to spend money suddenly, found yourself making investments rapidly, or just dealt with some things breaking, maybe in the home if you just acquired a new house or something like that. There could have been more opportunities to make money, maybe more money coming in, but then money going out, coming in, going out, a lot of ups and downs. Mercury was retrograding in Cancer, your 3rd house, and there was a new moon here on the 14th of the month, encouraging you to rethink how you communicate, to rethink how you move through your everyday life. You maybe had to take your car up for a checkup, take yourself out for a checkup, maybe had to revisit some conversations with siblings and neighbors, and just kind of rethink the question of how can I make the best of my days? What do I need to do to have more opportunities to nurture myself and nurture my relationships, perhaps. Venus and Virgo in your 5th house in July could have brought more love and romance, more dates, and more focus on parenthood and children, even opportunities to teach your children something or spend more time with children. You maybe found yourself taking a critical eye to an art project and re-editing it, finessing it. And then we had a lot of action in your 4th house of home and family with Jupiter and the Sun in Leo, and your 10th house of career with a full moon and North Node entering Aquarius. So a need to find a good work-life balance, as both of the sectors of your chart were hoppity hopping, maybe new developments at work, new developments at home, and just really needing to balance both of those areas. So in August, Mars is still in Gemini, your 2nd house, until August 11th. So you're still likely to be quite active and driven, and you're exploring new money-making opportunities. You may be exploring new investments. I would just, again, tell you, move slowly. Hold off on being impulsive when it comes to finances. If you're buying something, then take a minute to do some research. And because Mars rules your 7th house of relationships and partnerships, it is also possible that it is your partner who is being really impulsive and really easily excited. And so maybe it's your partner who's spending money and you're just looking at at it and being nope. So, talk about things. Your fourth house continues to be a sector of a lot of activity. So you are spending more time with family, or maybe traveling to see family, or family is coming to see you. You're moving, you're doing home improvement, home renovation projects. There is our first eclipse in Leo, the first solar eclipse in Leo since 2008 on the South Node. That's an important thing because we've had eclipses in Leo in like 2017. But this is the first South Node eclipse since 2008, 2009. And what was happening in your life in 2008, 2009? Because there are new beginnings in your fourth house of home and family, but these new beginnings require you to let something go. It's like growth that comes from, detoxifying, purifying, shedding. You empty, let's say you get rid of some old furniture and you open space to maybe have a nursery. Or you clear the air with family and you open space for better relationships. So this eclipse is on August 12th and it's co-present with Jupiter, right? Jupiter is trining Saturn in your 12th. There's major new beginnings, even like new beginnings in terms of where you live that come from moving, that come from saying goodbye to the old house. So be ready to bid adieu to something and enter a new doorway full of possibility and opportunity. Venus, the beautiful Venus, your chart ruler, is in Libra, your sixth house of work, health, and service between August 6th and September 10th. I love that for the most part. There is a couple of caveats, but she's your chart ruler. She's in her domicile. Yes, she's in your house of work, so it's less glamorous, but it could be still, like you're feeling creative and inspired, but in the work sector. If we're looking at the fact that Jupiter is in your fourth, maybe you're feeling really excited about picking paint and painting the nursery, or you're really excited about decorating the home that you're moving into, or you're taking the presentation that you're doing at work and you're adding more pink to it, right? It's like it's a very pragmatic house, but Venus will still allow you to take fun and pleasure in the everyday life. And there could be some romance for those of you who are single, romance with colleagues maybe. Or just you go out with colleagues more, you're building relationships with them, you spend more time with them this month. August 10th and 21st can be a bit tricky as Venus opposes Neptune and Saturn. I would just beware of like burnout and perhaps overwhelm and a tendency to be too pleasant with others to a point that you agree to do things that you don't have time for. Venus enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st, so everything that happens afterwards and until she goes retrograde on October 4th will likely need to be redone. So keep that in mind when you're handling those presentations and those work projects. Mars enters Cancer on August 11th and until September 27th, speeds up your third house, which could suggest that you have more ideas, you are more active in your neighborhood, more busy. Mars is in its fall in Cancer, so energetically this can show up as ups and downs. There could be some tendency to stifle and suppress frustration, and then it burns you and pops out and creates drama anyways. So you may feel like more irritable with siblings, with neighbors, like a neighbor's playing music and you're like, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then you meet them on the elevator and you just unload and they're like, you could have just told me or something. Could be a really good transit for working in the garden, using your hands to like sew something, knit something. Be careful of like using your knitting needles to poke at people. Oh, and don't drive too fast, because that can also be something where you're like driving too fast and you can be more accident prone. My candle of choice for this transit is Mars in Scorpio. You can find it at Anastasia.com. The Sun and Mercury enter Virgo. The Sun on August 22nd for a month, Mercury on the 25th until September 10th. This is your fifth house. There's also a Mercury Cazimi here. you're feeling really inspired around this time. It's like Virgo practical inspiration. So again, if you're working on something, if you're painting things, if you're, you know, like if you have children, there could be an opportunity to like teach your child how to make jam or something, right? Very, very summery activity as the season comes to a close, perhaps. So creative inspiration is possible, new love is possible, pregnancy is possible for you guys for sure, or pregnancy with a creative idea as well. The very last lunar eclipse in Pisces arrives on August 28th, completing the 2-year cycle of Pisces eclipses that started in September 2024. And this is change in your house of social life, community, friendships, networks, hopes, and dreams. You may see a dream reach completion. How has your life changed in the last 2 years, right? How have your friendships, your community, your involvement with social media transformed? So this is like the final opportunity to, I think, you know, finish that project, examine those friendships. Maybe you're letting go of a friendship or you're letting go of a social situation. And maybe you're just experiencing a change because in the last couple of years, maybe you've changed your careers and now you have a whole new circle of friends, or you started a social media channel and now you have a public persona. There could be interesting developments in terms of like your social life. So I'd love to hear how this resonates, and visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a reading. Come study with me. My natal class begins in September, and pick up any of my other offerings. I just did a webinar with Rox breaking down Jupiter and the nodes changing signs. The link is in the description. You can get the replay. If you are a Gemini rising, July has been busy. Mars and Uranus in your first house. You maybe traveled, moved, taken action, exercise. You may have also felt a little bit chaotic with the amount of things that were constantly happening, and maybe a little bit more combative, right? Dealing with some conflict could come sometimes with Mars in the first house. Mercury went retrograde in Cancer, your second house of money and values, and it could have been a good month to pay those bills, rethink your investments, maybe, you know, make some adjustments, consult some financial people, and also just ask those questions around like, what is of value to me? Especially as Mercury retrograde ruled both Mars and Gemini in your first house and Venus and Virgo in your fourth house. Venus and Virgo in the fourth could have offered opportunities to connect with family, to make home improvements, and to connect with loved ones. And then we've had a major nodal shift from North Node from Pisces into Aquarius, South Node from Virgo into Leo, and Jupiter and the Sun both in Leo brought awareness to your houses of everyday life, problem solving, skills, hobbies, communication, and your house of big visions, big dreams, travel, education. And so you may have found yourself wondering which of your skills can be shared with others, which of your skills can you teach. You may have wondered which places in the world fit you best, or kind of examined how your everyday life needs to transform to allow for more pleasure, fun, and joy in your life. So in August, Mars is still in Gemini until the 11th of the month, and you're still kind of on that active trajectory. Things will begin to slow down after the 11th when Mars goes into Cancer, but until August 11th, you're still combative, you're still direct, you're really good at problem solving and being flexible. If you're a fitness instructor, for example, you may find yourself coming up with like brand new routines. Even if you're not a fitness instructor in your personal exercise, there may be a lot more flexibility. One day you do dance, one day you do running, one day you do yoga, right? You're sort of like open-minded. Move a little slowly because there is Mars in the first can irritate, aggravate, inflame, and lead to careless accidents more than Mars in other houses. So express this fiery energy through healthy exercise. We get to our first eclipse of the season on August 12th, and it highlights Leo, your third house. This is where a lot of action is all throughout the month. Mercury enters Leo on the 9th until August 25th is here. The Sun is here until the 22nd. Jupiter is here all the way until July 2027. So there is a lot of focus on your everyday life, on your communication, on your business and your skills as you're learning, as you're connecting with neighbors, connecting with siblings, as you're launching a business, starting a website. You're very like enmeshed, you're busy, you're active. But South Node Eclipse, and gotta note that this is the first South Node Eclipse in Leo since 2008, 2009. So reflect on that period in terms of how did that affect your life. But South Node really wants you to let something go. It says that, yes, your life is busy and there's maybe many things you're excited about. You are a Gemini rising, right? You can see yourself doing so many different things, but there's only so many hours in the day. Something is gonna give with the solar eclipse. You may be saying, you're maybe saying goodbye to a project. You're maybe asking for help. You're maybe letting go of like a commute that you've been doing to work and negotiating a better kind of more opportunities to work from home. It's a new beginning in your everyday life, new beginning in your schedule, new beginning in your knowledge that comes from decluttering, that comes from purifying, that comes from honest conversations. So it's a significant energy, and it's a powerful opportunity here to kind of, wrap things up, wrap it up. And the same comes, like, let's say maybe you have a YouTube channel and you have an Instagram account and a TikTok, and you've been posting on one but not the other. Maybe it's the time to close one of those, right? And prioritize what is exciting for you. Maybe prioritize writing because social media is distracting you from it. Venus is entering Libra on August 6th and until September 10th. She is in your 5th house, which is also her house joy. This is a really powerful time. You're feeling more attractive. Other people are likely to ask you out, or you might ask people out. You may feel more outgoing, more excited, more creative and inspired. It's easier to connect with your inner child, and it's also easier to connect with children. You're finding like you're getting along with them better, and you're feeling like you're understanding them better. That applies if you have your own kids or if you work with children. There's a little bit of tension around August 10th and 21st as Venus opposes Neptune and Saturn in your 11th. Somehow your sense of fun will be at odds with what your friends think is fun. My advice is try to compromise, because you shouldn't completely go against your principles, but sometimes there might also be this sort of sense of like compromising leads to better situations potentially. Not always, but something to keep in mind. And Venus enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st. So everything that happens onwards until October 4th when she goes retrograde is worth keeping track of, because it may need to be redone. So if you're working on a creative project, or you're working on a school application for your child, or even a relationship that you're in, there may be kind of more information coming in and things changing later this year. And for some of you, it can also herald a return of some people from your past, some exes knocking on your door. Mars enters Cancer, your 2nd house, on August 11th, and until September 27th, it is gonna speed up your finances. So on the positive, this could be the time when you are more driven, you're coming up with new ideas and figuring out new money-making opportunities. On the negative, this is Mars in its fall. And so it's likely, this is like the situation where you're feeling bad and you're throwing money at the problems to make yourself feel better. Maybe it helps sometimes, but I don't know if it's classically the best way to solve problems. There may be a lot more ups and downs with your finances. Suddenly you're making, I don't know, $100,000, and then suddenly you have to spend $100,000, and so you're back to where you started. So hold off on being too impulsive here. The Sun enters Virgo on August 22nd for about a month, and Mercury enters Virgo on August 25th for a couple of weeks. And the two can join on the 27th. So there's some important developments happening in your home and family. It is easier to get along. It's easier to have important conversations. You may be figuring out questions around property, buying, selling, moving, relocating, family matters, if there is any inheritance or any other questions that you need to address maybe coming up. And it's actually, especially around the Cazimi on August 27th, it's easier to talk it through and to understand one another with the family. And then on August 28th, we have a really, really big event, and that is the final lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 10th house. So here we're looking back at September 2024, when we had the first eclipse in Pisces, and we are closing that chapter. You are celebrating a turning point in your career. You're maybe getting promoted, you are getting recognition, you're finishing a project, or you're leaving a job that you, back in September 2024, even in 2023, you started to realize that this work no longer fits who you are. And that would not be that far-fetched, right? Because North Node in Pisces and eclipses in Pisces really encourage you to look for work that is fun and joyful, and it makes your soul happy. And if your work doesn't satisfy that, or if there are any changes that you can make to bring what you do to that level of excitement, this eclipse is definitely going to offer you opportunities for that. Share how this resonates. Visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to come study with me. We begin in September. You will learn how to read charts, understand yourself, and build better relationships. You can also book a reading or pick up my candles and oils. My recommendation this month is Mars in Scorpio, because it can help alleviate the Mars in Cancer tensions. If you are a Cancer rising, July brought a lot of attention to your 12th house, led to opportunities to get away and experience some spiritual breakthroughs with Mars-Uranus conjunction there. Mercury retrograded through Cancer, your first house, so you could have been reviewing your identity, rethinking your style, your health, losing your voice, maybe, right? The retrograde in the first house, questioning how you come across to others, or rethinking physical body things as well. And then we had Venus in Virgo, your third house, encouraging you to take up some passions, knit, dance, improve your skills, do things with your hands. And Jupiter and the nodes began to activate your second and eighth houses, suggesting a need to balance personal values with those of others, encouraging you to explore new streams of income and figure out how to release debts or dependencies. In August, Mars is still in Gemini until August 11th in your 12th house. So if you've been, if in July you struggled with sleep, if you felt too hectic, too overwhelmed, some of that continues into August, at least until August 11th. It can also be a really good transit for working in solitude. Maybe you're working out, or you're spending time alone, you're working on a creative project. It's a good time to move your body and exercise and find ways to express your restless energy, because otherwise it will lead in issues with sleep and other things. The first solar eclipse of this season occurs in Leo, and we have a lot of action in Leo with Jupiter, the Sun, Mercury there between August 9th and August 25th, and the first eclipse in Leo occurs on August 12th. This eclipse is all about money and values, self-worth, investments in yourself. And it says that in order to grow and in order to create more stability, you have to be ready to let something go. You have to be ready to open your hand to receive. And so it's like new beginning that comes from quitting a job and getting a different job that maybe has higher potential of a reward, but maybe there's more of a risk because you don't know how quickly that will come. There may be some opportunities to explore new sources of income. South Node is here. It's a South Node eclipse. We've had South Node here the last time in 2008, 2009. So what was that like? How did that affect your earnings and how much you were dependent on others? Because South Node in Leo says that like you're getting this opportunity to release something and to go in the direction of new partnerships, new opportunities, exciting developments that involve your relationships with other people. But first you need to kind of clarify and be ready to take that leap. And maybe let go of some fears, right? Let go of some worries, let go of wondering what people think of you. Maybe you've had a dream to be a voice actor forever, but you keep thinking like people are going to judge me. People are, who am I to be a voice actor? And like all of these voices during the eclipse will get a chance to be purified and perhaps released. So like, how are you standing in your own way? And how can you be more authentic? And how can that lead to more income? Because if you're doing things you love, what is the saying? If you do things you love, you never work a day in your life. So this is a good question for this eclipse. Venus enters Libra, your 4th house, on August 6th until September 10th. She's in her domicile. She's in your 4th house. There is harmony, beauty, peace, and understanding in your home, in relationships with family. Things feel easier, except August 10th and 21st, 3 days before, 3 days after, as Venus opposes Neptune and Saturn in your 10th. This could be the time your work begins to feel frustrating and demanding. And maybe work matters somehow take you out of enjoying the relationships with family. Venus enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st. And so everything that happens onwards is something to keep in mind, because as Venus goes retrograde in October, you may find yourself redoing, rethinking, and revisiting some of the topics that involve home, family, living situation, and love. Because Venus goes in your 5th house, and Venus is always connected to love. Mars enters Cancer, so it finally leaves your 12th house. Goodbye sleep issues, goodbye overwhelm, on August 11th, and stays here until September 27th. This is the time when you are more courageous, you're more energetic, you're more driven. However, Mars is in its fall in Cancer, so while you are more energetic, there will be higher highs and lower lows. You'll be going through ups and downs energetically. You may be more moody, or maybe more passive aggressive. And around August 17th, as Mars squares Neptune, there could be again some work issues that are irritating you. And instead of dealing with things head on, you might become passive aggressive. So maybe take a breath, remove yourself from a situation. It is an interesting transit though, because Mars in Cancer is like mama bear. So there may be situations in which you're becoming a mama bear this month for your colleagues, for your family, for yourself. You're gonna be like, don't mess with her or with him. I'm gonna mama bear you around, or papa bear. Watch out for being, too sort of impulsive. It can be, Mars in Cancer can be inflammatory, irritating. It can sort of aggravate your skin maybe, or just like cause you to move faster and then lead you to unnecessary accidents. So watch out for that. Be careful. The Sun and Mercury enter Virgo in the final 10 days of the month, and then there's a Cazimi on August 27th. This could be powerful for negotiating, for new ideas, for maybe, like you're taking up writing, or you're starting to blog, you're starting to share your voice, your knowledge, your insights with other people. And powerful news and opportunities to somehow get involved with your community. Maybe clarify some issue with neighbors or within your neighborhood. And opportunities to get involved with siblings can also be on the horizon for you. And then, of course, the second biggest event of the month is the lunar eclipse in Pisces, which is also the very last eclipse in Pisces since September 2024. Occurs on August 28th. This brings a culmination of the 2-year-long chapter and brings changes, transformations, endings to your 9th house of education. You may graduate and complete a course of study, finish your dissertation, wrap up some kind of educational project, travel. If you've moved 2 years ago, you may be coming back. Writing, publishing, you may publish the project you've been working on for a while. A legal matter may resolve, and a philosophical shift is also quite possible here. Share how this resonates. How has the last 2 years affect your life? How have these Pisces and Virgo eclipses changed your identity and your beliefs? And visit Anastasia.astrology.com to register for my upcoming natal astrology class. We start in early September. You can also book a reading on there and pick up my candle of choice, Mars and Scorpio, to help deal with Mars in its fall. If you are a Leo rising, July probably brought a lot of opportunities to socialize. Maybe there was some friction with friend along the way with Mars and Uranus and Gemini. And Mercury retrograde in your 12th house could have seen you get away, retreat, be more introspective, maybe offered you opportunities to clear the air and to heal some unhealed wounds that you still need to address. Venus was in Virgo, your 2nd house, encouraging you to make investments, maybe bringing rewards, gifts, maybe urging you to find good deals, right? Venus in Virgo very much will be good for finding a bargain. And then Jupiter and the Sun in Leo, South Node entered Leo, and North Node entered Aquarius, all activated your houses of health and identity and your house of relationships. So you may have seen powerful developments in partnerships, in the life of the partner, maybe experienced transformations in your relationship, whether the relationship ended if it didn't fit you, or the relationship transformed and moved to a deeper level. Those are possibilities. And if you're single, maybe there were just deeper insights about friendships and contracts and agreements you have with other people. In August, Mars is still in Gemini until August 11th, and you're likely to be busy early in the month, connecting with others. You may be volunteering or spending time with colleagues, spending time with friends. Mars here can encourage you to be an advocate for change for people you work with or any of your friends, like going to the principal and telling him that we need better desks in this classroom or something. You're also more likely to argue with friends up until August 11th, so watch out for being too combative and non-compromising. Your 1st house is lit up with Jupiter, the Sun, Mercury there from August 9th until August 25th. And of course, the first South Node Solar Eclipse in Leo since 2008 on August 12th. This is big. This is a sign of the personal rebirth. It's a new beginning in your health, in your identity, in your sense of self that really asks you to let something go. So I have a Leo rising friend who just got engaged, right? And this eclipse could be very much about shedding her old identity as a single person and going in the direction of the North Node in the 7th and embracing relationships. Maybe you are letting go of being super likable. Maybe you're letting go of people pleasing, and you're like, there's more spiritual focus. There is more focus on how can you share your gifts with other people? How can you let the ego die and through that become a more, like, you know, how can you share your light without worrying what people will think, without worrying who will take it and who will judge you, who will criticize you. So really powerful changes are possible here, and they may involve your physical body, right? Maybe you've had tattoos for a really long time. Maybe you got tattoos back in 2016, 17, 18 when we had North Node in Leo, and now South Node is in Leo and you're letting them go, right? There is some kind of like purification, emptying. Even for some people, I see often like people get colonoscopies, right? Which is literally you have to take medicine that will clean you out. So it's like a new birth of self that comes from the willingness to let the old version of you go. Venus is in Libra, your third house, between August 6th and September 10th. She's in her domicile. She is empowered. Really good for creative projects. You're feeling more inspired. You're writing more. Really good for relationships with siblings. You may find yourself in a position of a diplomat. You're negotiating things. You're helping people get along and come to an agreement. You're going outside a lot more. You're hanging out with people in the neighborhood. It's just sort of like a fun, pleasant, social energy. Except August 10th and 21st, as Venus opposes Neptune and Saturn in your ninth. You may enjoy going out so much that you end up getting in debates with people and arguing about religion and politics. So watch out for being too dogmatic, especially as Venus opposes Saturn in the ninth. Saturn is in its fall in Aries, so there might be a chance that something that you're so confident about is not quite fully formed yet or not quite accurate. And Venus enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st, so everything that happens between then and October 4th when she goes retrograde will be under review, so do not rush to commit to things. Move slowly. Mars enters Cancer, your 12th house, on August 11th, and until September 27th will offer you a chance to retreat, to spend time on your own, to maybe work on something in solitude. Mars in Cancer can be really good for like writing a novel and just working on it on your own. It can encourage you to go out and take like nature walks or go swimming and find ways to exercise, but most likely in solitude. It is in its fall though, so there may be a challenge when it comes to some kind of hidden anger, some kind of irritability that you're more likely to direct towards yourself, because that's what often happens in the 12th house. If you're feeling angry, if you're feeling irritable, if you feel frustrated by something that's happening in the world, perhaps find ways to volunteer, find ways to get involved in some kind of charity. This would also be a really good expression of Mars in the 12th house. And do move your body, do express frustration, don't let conflicts build up to a point of no return. I highly recommend my Mars and Scorpio candle for this period because this is Mars in its domicile and it could be a good way to remediate the difficult Mars placement. The Sun and Mercury enter Virgo after August 22nd and conjoin on the 27th. This is a really powerful time for financial decisions. You're maybe more conscious, you're moving money around, paying off debts, making investments, researching different purchases, things to put money in. Maybe you're even realizing that your job has a benefit that you can take advantage of. And it's also a good transit to discuss all of these things and to kind of maybe even ask for a raise, ask for more responsibilities, recognition, rewards professionally. And then on August 28th, we get the final lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 8th house. It completes the chapter started in September 2024 when we had the first lunar eclipse in Pisces, and offers you an opportunity to finish something in the 8th house. You're maybe paying off a debt that you've been paying off. You're maybe finally finishing. You're maybe finishing paying off a debt that you started paying off in 2024. You're maybe celebrating some kind of commitment, new chapter in a relationship, right? Some kind of partnership development. Changes to the partner's resources are also possible, and some kind of transformation in terms of dependencies, both letting go of a dependency. If you've been, let's say your parents have been helping you pay your mortgage because you've been struggling financially, as well as maybe some kind of, new chapter in a dependency where like either you let go of one or you embrace some kind of new dynamic that actually offers you more freedom, like a new type of partnership that makes you feel more free going forward. Share how this resonates and visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a reading. Study with me. My natal class begins in September, or pick up a product such as Mars and Scorpio. If you are a Virgo rising, in July there was a lot of focus on your career sector with Mars and Uranus and Gemini. You may have experienced both breakdowns and breakthroughs, rapid developments and change in this portion of your life. Mercury retrograded through Cancer, your 11th house, encouraging you to rethink friendships, maybe revisit some challenging conversations with friends and figure out the future of certain friendships. Maybe also was a good time to rebrand or rethink your social media strategy. Venus in Virgo offered you opportunities to shine and take care of your style, maybe update your wardrobe, maybe do some health conscious beauty procedures like get a massage or a facial. And then your houses of physical and mental health were quite active all month, with Jupiter in Leo, the Sun in Leo, and the North Node entering Aquarius, South Node entering Leo. So it could have been a good time to figure out how to have better work-life balance. And maybe you felt with Jupiter in Leo a strong desire to get away, to take some of the stress away, to unload some of your work to some people. And so there could have been opportunities to do some of that. August still has Mars in Gemini until August 11th, and there's still a lot of action professionally. You're maybe traveling more for work, you're maybe giving more presentations, you're being more assertive. Other people see you as like straightforward, like direct and clear. And there might also be opportunities to start a business or to advocate for yourself in a professional context. The first eclipse of the season occurs on August 12th, and this is the first South Node Solar Eclipse in Leo since 2008. So we're looking back at 2008-2009 periods, and this solar eclipse really encourages you to, first of all, because it's a South Node eclipse, there is always this sense that it's time for you to let something go, and through that, embrace new beginnings. So, it's the 12th house, so it's the sector of your mental health. And it's mental health, it's spirituality, it's also foreign lands, faraway places, it's self-undoing. There's a lot of things in the 12th house, but this eclipse is asking, like, where is your ego getting in the way? Like, do you feel like you need to be perfect all the time? Do you feel like you need to be the one in charge of your work and you can't share it with people, you can't ask for help? Do you feel like you don't believe in yourself in certain situations? Where are you, doubting yourself? The solar eclipse will be very much encouraging you to find that faith and to connect with your inner light, and it can remind you that you deserve to get your dreams met as well. And some of those dreams will involve you moving, traveling to a spiritual place, a different destination. They may involve starting a career that has spiritual roots to it, like becoming an astrologer perhaps. If you're interested in learning astrology, join my natal class. We begin in September. Becoming a healer, becoming a therapist. And a lot of noise may come from this sort of sense of like, but what will people think? And my advice to you, don't worry about people will think. Most of us don't know what we're doing anyways. Pretty much, I don't think anybody knows what they're doing. A lot of life is just sort of trying a bunch of things and seeing what sticks and what doesn't. Venus is in Libra between August 6th and September 10th. Venus is in her domicile here. This is a really good energy for finances. You're making good investments. You're, spending money on beauty and art. Things that you buy around this time are likely to appreciate. There may be some friction between you and your partner, or maybe some sense of that you can't spend your money freely because of some kind of obligation that you have to others. Let's say you made a bunch of money, but you have a mortgage payment and your partner was supposed to pay, but now they cannot. So you have to pay the full thing around August 10th and August 21st as Venus opposes Neptune and Saturn. So I guess, just keep that in mind. Keep in mind that around August 10th and 21st, it's like taxes are coming, or somebody's coming and maybe taking some of your investments and makes you be more realistic, which is really frustrating. Mercury enters, don't mind Mercury. Mars enters Cancer on August 11th and will be there until September 27th. And this is your 11th house. Mars here can be really good for doing work that involves nurturing others. So in the 11th house, we're thinking of, nurturing your community. Maybe it's your social media subscribers. Maybe it's your friends that you're nurturing. You're sort of stepping into this role of like mama bear for your community. And it's a good transit for volunteering, for doing social work, doing public work. However, Mars is in its fall in Cancer, and the downsides are often being too passive aggressive, conflict avoidant, being like a werewolf, suppressing until the full moon comes and you blow up. So watch out for that. Try to express irritability as it comes up and look for ways to do sort of healthy Mars in the 11th house, right? Like advocating for other people instead of fighting with other people. My candle of choice for this period is Mars in Scorpio, because this is Mars and its domicile, and it could be really good for giving you courage, discipline, and passion instead of ups and downs energetically and emotionally that Mars in Cancer is likely to bring. The Sun enters Virgo on the 22nd for a month. Mercury enters on the 25th of August and until September 10th. Is your chart ruler in your first house. You are clear, you're straightforward, you're really good at communicating. It's a really good transit for writing, for editing any papers that you have, working on your skills, taking care of your health, seeing any doctors, right? Anywhere you need clarification, especially around August 27th when we get Mercury Cazimi, is a powerful time right now to ask for that clarification and even ask for things that you want, right? You may find yourself talking more, talking faster, talking about yourself, and so it's easier to have people understand who you are and where you're coming from. The final lunar eclipse in Pisces arrives on August 28th, and this is a completion of a 2-year-long chapter in your relationship sector. What got started in your life in September 2024, or what happened between September 2024 and now? Here you're looking at your relationship sector, and you are, with Jupiter ruling this eclipse and it being in your 12th house, there may be some changes in relationships connected to you moving. Maybe you and your partner are moving. Maybe you're moving and you're leaving your partner behind and the relationship is becoming more long distance. A relationship may end around the time of this lunar eclipse, especially if you feel like it's been struggling. Or there's maybe an opportunity to transform it to a different kind of level and get closer and, enter on a new level of relating and loving each other. Enter a new level. But the big question with Pisces, I think, is like, is this relationship, partnership, contract, or agreement, does it like fulfill me? And if it does not, you know, is there any way we can salvage it? And if no, if you've tried, then maybe it's the time to move on to something different. But again, doesn't have to be an ending, could be just a transformation. Share how this resonates. Visit anastasia.astrology.com to book a reading. Come study with me. My natal astrology class begins in September, and pick up any of my products and offerings. I also did a webinar with Rux on the astrology of the next 2 years. You can find it at the link in the description. My beautiful Libra rising, July brought a lot of opportunities to learn, study, teach, or travel with Mars and Uranus in Gemini. Your career was quite busy, but maybe you had to slow down and take a step back and sort of reorient yourself and ask which projects you want to nurture versus which ones you want to let go of, with Mercury retrograding through Cancer, your 10th house. Venus and Virgo encouraged more love, but behind the scenes you maybe were a little bit more private about the developments in your relationship, or you dated someone more privately. Jupiter in Leo encouraged more social media action, helped you grow your friendships, your connections, your relationships with others. And then North Node entered Aquarius, your 5th house, and South Node entered Leo, your 11th, encouraging you to balance your personal joy and your, maybe even with North Node in Aquarius, your kind of originality, original ideas with other people, their opinions, and sort of a need to compromise. So in August, Mars is still in Gemini until August 11th. You are still quite busy, and you know, you're looking at making travel plans. You are learning, teaching, reading, writing, publishing. It's kind of like a quite an intellectually stimulating transit. There may be a lot of learning that's going on. You're more likely also to argue with people until August 11th about politics, about religion, about beliefs. So be aware of that and try to choose your words carefully, because you know, you don't always know all the things where people are coming from, and sometimes it's unnecessary to waste your energy to convince people who have no interest in being convinced. Your 11th house, your social house is really busy all month with Jupiter, the Sun, Mercury there from August 9th until 25th. And of course, the first South Node Solar Eclipse in Leo since 2008 that is happening here on August 12th. So there is expansion here. Again, you're attracting new people, you're meeting new friends, maybe you're joining a wine club, maybe you're starting a social media channel, maybe you're joining a book club, right? There's some kind of expansion in your friendships, and you're reaching new people. Especially Jupiter here will give you access to a larger audience. You're presenting your work to the CEO of the whole company instead of somebody else, like a smaller fish. The solar eclipse here on August 12th is about new beginnings. It is about new opportunities to connect, to share, to express yourself, but it's a South Node eclipse. So it says that in order to grow, you first need to let something go. You need to let go of the fear of being judged. You need to let go of people pleasing. You need to let go of relationships that you're holding on to just because you owe it to someone, or you've been a loyal friend and you've been the friend of this person for many years. If it doesn't feel anymore, maybe it's time to say, you know, to part ways with someone, and through that you're opening space for a better friendship, a better relationship. You're also, I think here, you're like encouraged to let go of the ego. This eclipse very much feels like the death of the ego. It's a new beginning in your identity, but it's also the death of like, I want, this is me, it's all about me, right? And it could be difficult, and maybe it's also a sign that a friend is going through a difficult time, and so your relationship with that friend is likely to transform in the process. So be ready for compromises and flexibility, and reflect on 2008, 2009, which is the last time we've had South Node in Leo and North Node in Aquarius. What was that like for you? Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, I think. I'd be curious to hear what happened for you guys in 2008, 2009. Venus is entering Libra on August 6th and until September 10th. She's in your first house, the goddess of love, your chart ruler, in your first house. You are beautiful. You are charming. You're magnetic. You are creative and playful. Others give you compliments, attention. You're more focused on keeping peace, maintaining peace. That will be challenged around August 10th and the 21st, and maybe 17th as Venus gets involved with Neptune, Saturn, and Mars also gets involved with Neptune in your 7th house. So there's a little bit of friction around that time, 10th, 17th, and 21st, between you and your vision and your creativity and you just being like, here I am, Aphrodite, coming from the shell. And the stresses of relationships, the responsibilities you have to other people, the difficult negotiations, agreements. You're coming into it with a really, let's say you like going to a meeting to negotiate your salary, and you dress really well and you smell really well and you're like in a good mood and you show up and the person just argues with you, and then it's like much harder to keep your cool. So your patience will be tested, and there may be some sort of disillusionment, disappointment in the process, and just also a sense of, Venus in Libra, she's in her domicile, and she's very flirtatious and playful, and she can be very optimistic, but life has its own challenges sometimes, and so something might be happening in your relationships and partnerships that brings you down to earth and maybe feels depressing, but don't let it just affect everything. Venus also enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st, so everything that she does afterwards, everything that you do afterwards, creatively, personally, romantically, financially, may need to be rethought when Venus goes retrograde on October 4th. Mars enters Cancer, your 7th house ruler, on August 11th, and until September 27th, it's in your 10th house of career. So you're professionally focused, you are getting things done, starting projects, nurturing your projects with Cancer into existence. You're more driven, you're maybe coming across as like a little bit domineering. Mars in Cancer can sometimes suggest that because it's your 10th house, it also represents authority figures. So sometimes people in power might behave in tricky ways. Mars is in its fall in Cancer. And so people can be passive aggressive, people can be conflict avoidant, and then really dramatic and really moody. So people you work with, you may need to navigate their mood swings. And even for you, and Mars rules your 7th house, so your partner might be moody. Your significant other rules your house of money. Maybe some financial matters can be full of ups and downs. So just keep that in mind and try to express frustration as it comes up and avoid suppressing it. I really recommend my Mars and Scorpio candle. This is Mars in its domicile, falls in your 2nd house of money, and can alleviate some of the Mars in its fall in Cancer energy. The Sun and Mercury both enter Virgo after August 22nd. There's a Mercury cazimi on the 27th. This is your 12th house. There might be a sense that while you're very social with Jupiter in the 11th, you're also ready to kind of get away and slow down before Libra season begins, right? You're kind of in this like, okay, it has been great, let me go recharge. So there may be more opportunities to get away, escape, rest, and maybe work on things in private. You will also benefit through therapy, yoga, reflection. You're more likely to be very insightful and good at understanding. I'm just checking on my Mercury Gemini candle. Hopefully it doesn't go out. It went out earlier when I was doing a live, and the live got messed up. And I'm like, yep, that's because the candle went out. Anyways, and then we have the final lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th. It completes the last 2-year chapter that was activating your sixth house, and offers you opportunities to examine your work life, to set some boundaries when it comes to work, to look at which projects feel soulful and which ones feel draining. And the lunar eclipse here can give you a chance to maybe wrap up a project that you've been working on for the last 2 or even 3 years. There could be rewards, recognition, transformation there, and opportunities to like say goodbye to something. Maybe it's, maybe it's an exciting goodbye. Maybe it's like, look at what I've accomplished. Maybe it's an opportunity to just be like, this is a waste of my time and I no longer want to carry this burden, because sixth house is all about blood, sweat, and tears. So with the lunar eclipse here, you're asking what is worth bleeding over, what is worth sweating over, and if it's not worth your time and energy, then maybe you shouldn't bother. You can also see work dynamics wrap up, health situations come to an end. Like if you've been dealing with a health situation, maybe it comes to happy ending. Share how this resonates and visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a reading. Come study with me. We begin in September. There's also a webinar I did on Jupiter and the nodes changing signs. It's in the description, and check out all the other things I offer. If you are a Scorpio rising, July brought a lot of action to your 8th house of shared finances and partners' money. You maybe negotiated, paid off debts, and dealt with other people a lot. Mercury went retrograde in your 9th house, encouraging you to travel back to the place you once were, rethink legal matters, education, travel. Maybe you had to figure out your commute to the new job, or reapply for something, take an exam, get your diploma back, or deal with some kind of, legal matters like around your name change if you just got married. Venus in Virgo offered you opportunities to network, see your friends, maybe help your friends out, as Venus in Virgo has this sort of humble, service-oriented mentality. And then there was a lot of action between your house of career and your house of home and family, as North Node entered Aquarius, and Jupiter, the Sun, Mercury, and South Node were all in Leo in your 10th house. So there could have been a lot of opportunities to shine, be visible, and seek recognition professionally. In August, we still have Mars, your chart ruler, in Gemini until August 11th, helping you negotiate insurance payments, pay off debts, advocate for yourself. You're maybe finding yourself in a position of like helping someone go through difficulty, because 8th house is full of sudden events and transformations. And so your Mars there, it could be like you're like an exorcist for people who are struggling, a therapist, and or like a nurse. And maybe that's what you do for a living, but when Mars is there, you may be extra good at what you do. Just make sure that, Mars in Gemini can be a little bit too sort of intellectual, chaotic, anxious. Make sure that you're staying grounded. The action in your career sector continues throughout the whole month. Jupiter is here all month, the Sun until August 22nd, Mercury between the 9th and 25th of the month. And of course, the first solar eclipse conjunct the South Node on August 12th. The first solar eclipse in Leo on the South Node since 2008. So South Node eclipse here suggests new beginnings that come from letting something go. You're maybe exploring professional growth, but first you have to say no. Like it's kind of like, think of this as you are thinking of starting a business, but your current job offers you a raise and they offer you a promotion. And so you really have to weigh things, and because you're more driven to start a business and be free to do your own thing, you maybe first have to say goodbye to an existing job. There's also a strong sense here of new beginnings that come to you when you let go of the ego, when you let go of people pleasing and worrying what people might think of you, when you embrace your gifts and talents and find way to use them for the good of all. And South Node will also bring this sort of spiritual orientation, and sometimes you may be even realizing that if you can afford that, that working right now doesn't fulfill you, so maybe you go and travel the world and become a digital nomad because that's what you're driven to do right now. Venus enters Libra, the sign she rules, on August 6th and until September 10th, encourages you to get away with your significant other. It is a good time to go on trips. It is encouraging you to create and make art. And keep your love life private. There is a lot more of a need to keep things private with Venus in Libra. You have to watch out for Venus in the 12th house, for she has the tendency to attract unavailable people, hurt people, broken people, and then become their nurse and tend to them and try to heal them. Not everybody is ready to be healed. Not everybody wants to be healed. And also, pay attention to what people say to you. Don't build fairy castles in your head, because you're more likely around this time to believe things that are not grounded in reality. Especially around August 10th and 21st, there may be some challenges as Venus opposes Neptune and Saturn in your 6th house. You may be dealing with tension between like resting and getting away and being with your significant other, and everyday life responsibilities, your workload, your schedule, and health concerns may be coming up around that time. Venus enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st, and everything that happens between then and October 4th, when she goes retrograde, is likely going to repeat itself a couple of times or will require a review as Venus begins her retrograde on the 4th of October. Mars enters Cancer. Your chart ruler enters Cancer on August 11th and until September 27th encourages you to use your energy to go on adventures. And these could be literal adventures. Mars in Cancer could be the time you're planning your vacation, you're going on a trip, or you're learning something new, or you're planning to become a teacher. You may be planning your course, you're lining everything up. You may be dealing with foreign people, visas, teachers and mentors. Mars is in its fall in Cancer, so your energy will be up and down, will be going through ups and downs. You may be a little bit more passive aggressive, a little bit conflict avoidant. Yet, if you suppress this too much, it is likely to backfire and end up in you hurting yourself or people you love. So try to express frustration as much as you can. Don't let the resentment build, and really avoid like ideological debates, because this could be the time when you're trying to defend your perspective and getting more frustrated because you can't find the right word, and then you start crying and everything gets really dramatic. I really recommend my Mars and Scorpio candle for this transit. This is Mars in its domicile in your 1st house and could be really good for avoiding the downsides. The Sun enters Virgo on August 22nd for a month. Mercury comes here on the 25th of August and until September 10th. Gives you opportunities to see friends, network, socialize. You may be speaking more in public, connecting with others, venturing on social media, writing more messages, writing more comments. There's a Cazimi here on August 27th, which could be really helpful for figuring out what you need to say if there is any friendship misunderstanding or challenge, and figuring out what you are here to offer to the collective. And then, of course, on August 28th, we get the final lunar eclipse in Pisces, completing the 2-year-long chapter. The first Pisces eclipse in this series was in September 2024. And it brings change, transformation, ending, completion to your 5th house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, and children. Maybe you've become a parent and now you're finally feeling like you're getting it. Maybe you started dating someone and the relationship moves to the next level. Maybe you've been working on a creative project and now you're ready to present it to the world. the question here is like, what is joy? What is pleasure? And with Jupiter ruling it in the 10th house, there will be connection between pleasure and career, and realizing maybe, you know, maybe you've pivoted and you adjusted your professional life to reflect your desire, your vision of fun, or maybe you still need to make some adjustments to, like, you know, especially if you're someone who's like trying to get pregnant or trying to get married or things like that. There may be this sense that like you need to look at your career sector with more discernment. Share how this resonates and visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a reading. Come study astrology with me or pick up my Mars and Scorpio candle. I also did a webinar talking about Jupiter in Leo and the nodes changing signs. The link is in the description. Some disruptions, breakdowns, breakthroughs in the life of your partner, and also had to rethink finances, sharing, and give and take dynamics. Your partner got fired and Mercury went retrograde in your 8th house, and suddenly you needed to look at how to manage resources, how to pay bills, how to direct money, right? It could have also been the time when you were paying off debts and thinking of having more financial stability in July. Venus in Virgo offered opportunities to forward your career or look for work, maybe connect with bosses, authority figures. And then we had a lot of action in Leo and Aquarius with Jupiter, the Sun in Leo, and North Node and South Node entering Aquarius and Leo. And you could have found yourself balancing your desire to travel, desire to travel and expand in the world and go on adventures with the demands of your everyday life and the logistics and the practical things you needed to take care of. In August, Mars is still in Gemini until August 11th. So you're both really driven to negotiate, compromise, date. And you're also more likely to fight and feel irritable in relationships and feel frustrated by maybe your partner, or your partner can be more irritable. So use this energy to be active together, go on a hike, go to the gym, instead of, you know, butting heads and fighting one another. And if you're not in a relationship, this can show up in other significant partnerships, maybe some friction and misunderstandings and conflicts. Jupiter, the Sun and Mercury spend Jupiter all month, the Sun until August 22nd, Mercury between 9th and 25th are all in Leo, your 9th house. And we get a solar eclipse here, the first South Node Solar Eclipse in Leo since 2008 on August 12th. So reflect on 2008, 2009, because we are in a similar karmic cycle. There is a sense with this eclipse that you are entering a new chapter of your life. Solar eclipse is always about new beginnings. There are new beginnings in education, in travel, in writing, in legal matters, but it's a South Node eclipse, and South Node asks you to let go of the ego, let go of expectations of things needing to be perfect and matching your exact agenda. Let go of needing to control things and be ready for things to surprise you. So it's kind of like, you know, maybe you had a vision of moving to a foreign country when you already had a job lined up. But maybe you end up doing it without having the job lined up, and it feels uncomfortable, but it's a risk that you're willing to take, perhaps. There may also be a sense that old ideas of yourself, old beliefs are all being broken away, and they no longer work for you, especially with Jupiter, your chart ruler, being in the 9th house. You're maybe exploring adventures and quests. You're maybe thinking of going to India to study yoga, or thinking of traveling by yourself for the first time. And again, some kind of opportunity for new beginning that requires you to be a little bit more flexible and get out of your head, because maybe in your head you're like, I would not enjoy traveling solo. I would have no one to share things with. But if you try it, you might like it. Maybe you'll be surprised. You can surprise yourself. So yeah, reflect on 2008, 2009. If you have anything to share, if anything jumps at you, let me know. Venus is in Libra. Venus in the sign is in her home sign, Libra, your 11th house, between August 6th and September 10th. This is a really fun time socially. You're going to more events, to more get-togethers, so you're speaking in public. You're so charming, so good at joking and telling stories. Mercury especially is also in Leo between August 9th and 25th. So there's a lot of charisma, and the love may bloom in your friendship circle. You may decide that one of your friends is in love with you, or you in love with them, and maybe explore a different dynamic. You can also be starting creative projects with friends and venturing on social media, traveling with friends. There's a lot of possibilities. There's a little bit of friction maybe between what your friends think and what's going on in your love life. What's going on with your child, and even like creative disagreements around August 10th and 21st, as Venus opposes Neptune and Saturn. Maybe you felt like you're free to go on a trip with your bestie and your child gets sick and suddenly you can't go because you need to be there for your kid. Venus enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st, and everything that happens onwards between 31st of August and October 4th is likely going to be repeated in some shape or form as Venus begins her retrograde. So notice what comes up and be ready to go another round or two. Mars enters Cancer, your 8th house, on August 11th and until September 27th. Encourages you to pay off debts, to talk about fairness, to address financial matters. There may be a little bit more friction with your partner around money, especially if you feel like things aren't fair. And Mars in Cancer is in its fall, so the tendency might be to be passive aggressive, conflict avoidant, and suppress until it blows up, and then the fangs come out and everybody suffers. So be careful, be mindful of that, and avoid suppressing frustration. You can benefit through like therapy around this time, and you may find yourself, actually having the courage to discuss some uncomfortable things in relationships. So don't let that pass you by. I was gonna say that my recommendation is Mars and Scorpio for this period, as this is Mars in its home sign, and it's really good at dealing with friction and conflict. The Sun enters Virgo on the 22nd for about a month. Mercury enters on August 25th and until September 10th. Offers more clarity, more visibility, more insight for your career. On the 27th of August, we have Mercury Cazimi here. You are likely to get busy. You're likely to write more, to speak more, to deliver more presentations. Maybe you're applying for work, so you're just hustling, you're busy, and you're speaking more. And other people are very much interested to hear what you have to say. And then we have the last lunar eclipse in Pisces, completing the 2-year chapter on August 28th and bringing change to your house of property, real estate, home, and family. And how has this sector changed in the last 2 years? Maybe you had a child and now you're finally finishing up the home expansion, right, to make space for this newborn kid, or you're moving to a place that allows for more space for your family. Maybe you bought a house and you're finishing up paying the mortgage. Maybe you moved in with your significant other and now it's officially your home because you finalized the paperwork. There is a lot of possibilities here, including more internal sense of peace and security, and maybe the last couple of years brought opportunities for you to heal some childhood wounds, to create more stability in your life, and to build familial relationships that are rooted in kind of honesty and heart-centeredness. And do reflect on the last 2 years, because this would all be interconnected with the first eclipse in Pisces in September 2024. Share how this resonates and visit anastasia.astrology.com to come study with me. My natal class begins in September. You can book a reading on there and pick up any of my astrological magical products, candles, and oils. If you are Capricorn rising, July was likely quite busy with work for you, with Mars and Uranus in Gemini. You may have needed to rethink your relationships, partnerships, contracts, and agreements as Mercury went retrograde. Venus in Virgo could have brought a foreign crush, encouraged you to travel, and brought support through your foreign connections. Also encouraged you to write, publish, present your work somehow. And then there were powerful developments as Jupiter entered Leo, giving you blessings through the resources of others. And North Node entered Aquarius, South Node entered Leo, encouraging you to rethink sharing, give and take, and financial questions, and maybe embrace growth financially through interacting and working with other people, as well as paying off debts. In August, Mars is still in Gemini until August 11th. Mars is in its joy in the 6th house, so it gives you knowledge, courage, speed to problem solve, take care of your work. You're quick and flexible, and even really good at sales or talking to managers, bosses. Just make sure to stay grounded, because Mars and Gemini can be a little bit scattered at times and try to do too many things at once. Prioritize and narrow it down to make it better and easier. Jupiter is in Leo all month. The Sun is here until the 22nd, and Mercury between 9th and 25th of August. And of course, we get the first South Node Solar Eclipse in Leo on August 12th, the first one since 2009. So last time we've had eclipses with South Node in Leo and North Node in Aquarius was 2008, 2009. What was that period like for you? So this is interesting because it brings new beginnings in partnerships, in dependencies, in agreements, in partners' finances, but it's a South Node eclipse, so there's a sense that new beginnings require endings first. They require purification. They require an ego death or an ego loss. And it's an interesting one, because maybe you are starting a business and you're working with someone, and you're having to go through this process of like, I am no longer the person who makes all the decisions. I need to compromise. I need to negotiate with this person. I need to say yes to things that maybe I don't want to say yes to. There may be changes in your partner's life. A partner may quit a job because they're starting a business, and it may feel like, yes, there's new beginnings, but they're uncomfortable. There's a lack of clarity on what's to come. I think the biggest message here is that abundance can come when you are flexible and when you're willing to compromise. And so focus on that as you negotiate contracts and enter new chapters of relating with others, especially when it comes to like negotiating, and coming to an agreement about who does what in a partnership. Venus enters your career sector on August 6th, and until September 10th, she's in her sign of rulership. She's in the career house, so you are charming. You benefit from bosses supporting you. There is an ease in relationships. There is, it's a good time to start projects. You're more creative. You really crave pleasure in your work right now. And if your work doesn't allow for joy, this could be the transit you need to actually make the change, right? Maybe South Node eclipse in the 8th house is a sign that you're getting some kind of inheritance, or you're getting some kind of support from other people that then allows you to make a change, allows you to take a leap and quit your job and start a business or start a creative project, something along those lines. There may be tension between your career life and what's happening in the home, the demands of the family, the responsibilities to your parents, or living situation challenges around August 10th and 21st as Venus opposes Neptune and Saturn. So be ready to compromise. And Venus also enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st. So everything that happens between now and October 4th, August 31st and October 4th, will likely need to be redone when Venus goes retrograde, revisited, rethought, readjusted, right? Re. Mars enters Cancer, your 7th house, on August 11th and until September 27th, really encourages you to partner up. You are driven to date, you're driven to commit, you're driven to spend time with others. It could be good for business partnerships, client work, romantic relationships. However, Mars is in its fall in Cancer, and it could be passive aggressive, it could be conflict avoidant, it could suppress a lot of frustration, and then at some point it kind of backfires and everything explodes and you end up in a situation that you don't know where it all started. So express frustration as it comes. It can also be the period if you're in a relationship, or even if you have strong partnerships with others, where your partner is being really moody and explosive or passive aggressive. So relationships can be a little bit tricky starting with August 11th. So watch out for that and do your best to communicate as clearly as you can. Luckily, we do have Mercury entering Virgo right after the Sun enters Virgo. The Sun on the 22nd, Mercury on the 25th, and the Sun stays for a month, Mercury, until September 10th. And Mercury is in its domicile in Virgo, so your communication becomes more clear, analytical, you pay attention to detail. It's in your 9th house. It's a good time to file legal documents, to study, take exams, right? It could be a really good time for that, especially Mercury Cazimi on August 27th is extra potent. And then on the 28th of the month, we have the final lunar eclipse in Pisces, completing the 2-year chapter that got started in September 2024 in your 3rd house. How has your life changed in the last 2 years? Have you made changes that allow for more freedom? Have you committed to your creative passions, to your writing projects? Have you transformed the relationship with your sibling or a neighbor? There is a lot of possibilities with this lunar eclipse to bring sort of finishing touches to this and bring changes to your schedule, communication, relationships with siblings and neighbors, writing projects, creative projects, as well as like business opportunities, and perhaps encourage more easier flow in your everyday life. Share how this resonates and visit AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com to book a reading. Study with me. My natal course begins in September, or pick up my candles and oils. Highly recommend Mars and Scorpio for this Mars in its fall energy we're going to have to deal with. If you are an Aquarius rising, July was likely quite busy romantically for you. We had Mars and Uranus in your 5th house. You maybe experienced some breakthroughs, some changes in your love life. It could have been an ending of some sort, but only to make space for new beginnings, as Jupiter entered Leo, your 7th house, improving your relationships or offering some new beginnings in relationships. And we've had Mercury retrograde in Cancer in your 6th house. You could have found yourself reviewing your habits, rethinking your diet, exercise routines, even going back to some projects from the past that you haven't given full chance to. Venus and Virgo in your 8th offered opportunities to pay off debts and negotiate partnerships and maybe come to more fair agreements. And finally, South Node entered Leo and North Node entered Aquarius, suggesting a need to balance your personal priorities with your relationship goals. In August, Uranus is in Gemini, Mars is in Gemini until August 11th, your 5th house. You are playful, you are creative, you're childlike, you're enjoying dating, having fun, lounging by the pool, going out, dancing. It's a fun energy. There may be a little bit more friction in your love life, but it could then transpire into fun time in the bedroom. or friction in relationships with children, maybe some creative friction as well. So use that creative friction to actually birth something new instead of fighting. Relationship, your 7th house, the house of relationships and partnerships, is quite busy with Jupiter there, the Sun until the 22nd of the month, and Mercury between the 9th and 25th. And of course, the first South Node Solar Eclipse in Leo occurs here on August 12th. This is the first South Node Solar Eclipse since 2008. And we've had South Node in Leo, North Node in Aquarius in 2008, 2009 last time. So what was that period like? What was that like in terms of your friendships, your creative energy? Because solar eclipse in the 5th represents some kind of creative energy birthing process or conception, right? 5th house is your love life. It's your children. It's your creativity. It's pleasure. It's sports. It's gambling. It's like, habits that you have. And the South Node is not about the ego. South Node is not about material gains. It's not about more. It's about less. So there may be this sense that you are releasing a bad habit, like smoking. You're letting go of smoking to have more energy, to be able to hike and not lose your breath, right? Or you're examining your relationships and you are letting go of a relationship that no longer fulfills you. Business partnerships, contracts, agreements, any kind of partnerships that feel like they've outlived themselves. It is also possible that South Node eclipse will bring an ending in the partner's life. Maybe they, quit their well-paying job and begin writing a novel. And so that would be challenging for a relationship potentially, right? Jupiter here suggests this is great. It's a new beginning. It's exciting. Don't worry. It's going to work out. But it's still terrifying because South Node wants you or your partner to let go of the ego, to let go of the fear, to embrace some kind of ending before the new beginning is going to come. Venus enters Libra, the sign she rules, on August 6th and until September 10th, brings blessings to your 9th house. You're traveling, you are writing, you are dealing with foreign people, studying, teaching. There is curiosity with the 9th house. A really good time to sign up for my astrology class because 9th house, right? Learning, you might enjoy learning. And if you're single, there may be some kind of foreign love interest coming into your life. You may meet them while traveling. You may, meeting them while traveling, or you begin some kind of long distance romance with someone you meet online, but they're of a different nationality. Beware of ideological debates, conflicts with siblings, scheduling issues, some kind of, friction and conversation around the 10th and the 21st of the month as Venus opposes Neptune and Saturn. And then the goddess of love enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st. And between then and October 4th, she's going to travel direct. And then as she goes retrograde on the 4th, she's going to move back over the same degrees. So everything that you're learning and exams that you're taking, documents that you're filing, foreign people you're talking to, there's a sense that there's going to be a redo on all of that energy. So be mindful, especially when it comes to filling out a bunch of paperwork, because sometimes it's like applying for a passport and then getting a passport with the wrong month. That happened to me when I got my American passport. Instead of September, I got March. And I'm like, how dare you make me 6 months older? How dare you? Only backwards, then I would be okay with it. Mars enters Cancer, your 6th house. Mars is in its joy in the 6th on August 11th and until September 27th, helps you take care of duties, problem solve, work, take care of health, exercise. You have more energy and more drive. However, Mars is in its fall in Cancer. So chances are your energy will be spotty. It may go through ups and downs. There may be more frustration at work, more irritability, more inflammation in your health as well, because Mars tends to irritate, inflame, aggravate things. Highly recommend my Mars and Scorpio candle or oil for this period. And also just do your best to express everything. Don't let frustration be suppressed to a point where it festers and turns into like a sickness, right? Because a lot of times we close our eyes or on something, we don't say things, and then you wake up and your throat is sore because this energy just sort of transmuted itself. So beware of that. The Sun enters Virgo on August 22nd for a month. Mercury does on the 25th of August and until September 10th. Blesses your 8th house of debts, loans, taxes, partners, money with more clarity, with better communication. It is easier to pay off debts. It's easier to compromise, to discuss things, and to make agreements that feel more fair. You're also likely to keep track of all the different details and be aware of any changes that need to be made to agreements, especially August 27th as Mercury conjoins the Sun for Cazimi here. On August 28th, 2026, we get the final lunar eclipse in Pisces, wrapping up the 2-year chapter of Pisces and Virgo eclipses. This is the Pisces side of it. In your second house of money and values. How have your finances changed in the last 2 years? How has your confidence changed in the last 2 years? This eclipse is the finishing touches. Maybe you've received an inheritance and the eclipse allows you to invest this money. Maybe it allows you, maybe you're paying off a debt that you've had for a while. Maybe you're investing into some kind of creative passion. It's both about confidence and about actual resources. So receiving a payment for something you've been waiting for the last couple of years is possible. Spending money and making changes is all a possibility here. Making changes to your finances, resources. Share how this resonates and visit Anastasia.astrology.com to book a reading. Come study with me. My natal class begins in September, and pick up my candles and oils, or get the webinar I did with Rux on Jupiter in Leo, South Node in Leo, North Node in Aquarius. The link is in the description. You can get the replay. If you are a Pisces rising, July brought a lot of attention to your home sector, maybe more movement, people visiting, you traveling to see family, spending more time with family, maybe a little bit of friction in the home with Mars and Uranus and Gemini. Mercury retrograde in your 5th house encouraged you to rethink your creative self-expression, your romantic relationships, pleasure, and maybe kind of ask those questions of like, what is fun and how can you have more of it in your life, as well as like which passions, which hobbies, which habits are healthy or not. And so maybe encourage you to make some adjustments. Some of you maybe dealt with exes coming back into your life and having to decide what to do with that energy, and you could have had a chance to like reconnect with your creative muse and creative spirit. Venus in Virgo highlighted your relationship sector, brought more opportunities to date, partner up, connect with others generally. Jupiter in Leo and the Sun in Leo boosted your health and your vitality, and also helped you be more clear on what is healthy, maybe offered opportunities to see doctors, make improvements to your diet, exercise, work, and habits. And then North Node entered Aquarius, South Node entered Leo, highlighting the connection between your mental health and physical health and encouraging you to balance the two. So in August, Mars is still in Gemini, your 4th house, and until August 11th, and you have the energy to whatever is necessary in the home, right? You do more DIY projects, you are moving things around, you are painting walls, rearranging the furniture, you're seeing family. There may be more friction with family, a little bit more combative energy with family. Or, you know, maybe you're athletic with family. Maybe you're playing football together or playing soccer together. I would recommend that you try to use this energy in productive ways, like doing those DIY projects or being active with family instead of battling it out. Jupiter is in Leo all month. It's basically there until July 2027. The Sun is until August 22nd, and Mercury between 9th and 25th of the month. And we get, on August 12th, the first South Node Solar Eclipse in Leo since 2008. This is big. This is interesting. You know, all of this action, Jupiter in your 6th house, it's your chart ruler, and it's there for a while. It wants you to take pleasure in what you do. It wants you to take better care of your health. It will expand your routines. It will expand your workload. It maybe, you know, suggests that there's more going on, but there is a sense with Jupiter here that you're working on something that's worth your while. And so the solar eclipse in Leo, if it was just the solar eclipse and it was like North Node solar eclipse specifically, it would have been like, yes, it's time for you to take more work. It's time for you to begin a new job. It's time for you to like go full speed ahead on a workout plan. But the South Node actually has this like cleansing and letting go and emptying energy. So the sense here is that, yes, there's new beginnings in your work and health, but the new beginnings are likely to come from letting something go. So letting go of a job is one possibility here, so that you can have more, you know, free time to pursue your business perhaps, or letting go of some kind of bad habit, letting go. With the South Node solar eclipse in Leo, like I keep thinking of this like death of the ego, right? And maybe you are someone who takes a lot of pride in the work that you're doing. This is like part of your identity, to be the best, to be like, you know, get the best reviews, get the best feedback. And maybe the solar eclipse allows you to like let go of some of that and just, you know, share your workload with others. Let go of some things on your schedule. There's maybe, again, with North Node and Aquarius, there's maybe some kind of need to balance your everyday life and your duties with your creative life and your mental health and your desire to rest as well, because those two cannot exist without one another. And the last time we've had the South Node in Leo and North Node in Aquarius would be in 2008, 2009. So do reflect on that and what was that period like in your life. Venus enters Libra, your 8th house, on August 6th, and until September 10th, she's in her domicile, her sign of rulership, the one she really likes. And this could be a blessing in terms of resources coming into your life, dear Pisces rising. There may be money coming to you through the government, right? There may be some kind of bonus, insurance payment. Your partner's finances may improve and they're likely to be more generous with you. You're maybe getting money through an inheritance or parents, or, you know, some kind of like return on your investment is possible. Things can be quite, you know, supported by this Venus in Libra. However, on August 10th and the 21st, she will be opposing Neptune and Saturn in your 2nd house. So this could lead to some kind of conflicts about money and resources and spending. And so be careful about overspending this month, because it can backfire, I think. Venus also enters her pre-retrograde shadow on August 31st, and you keep in mind that between August 31st and October 4th, Venus is in pre-retrograde shadow, meaning when she goes retrograde on October 4th and until November 14th, a lot of things will need to be reviewed, including the money you spent and the money you received. Not saying that the gifts that you will receive will be retracted, but whatever happens, especially between August 31st and October 4th, maybe do not rush to spend the money that you get, because the retrograde can force you to go back somehow. Mars enters Cancer, your 5th house, on August 11th and until September 27th, encourages you to date, to have fun, to have sex, to enjoy life, right? You're sort of more indulgent on some level, but it is Mars and it's fall. So there could be a lot of like, a lot of ups and downs energetically, tendency to be passive aggressive, conflict avoidant. You're maybe struggling to find motivation to get your creative work done, and also using sort of bad habits as ways to soothe yourself, because Mars in Cancer could be like, yeah, let's have more cake, let's have all the cake in the world because I'm not feeling good right now. So watch out for that, and do your best to not suppress frustration, but instead maybe express it through physical exercise, through again, passionate lovemaking and other stuff. Because there could be, Mars in Cancer could suggest that when you do lose your cool and when you do get frustrated, you may end up like, taking it out on your significant other or a child, any child that's near you. So yeah, be careful of that. And I highly recommend my Mars and Scorpio candle as a remedy for this transit. So check that out on my website. The Sun enters Virgo on August 22nd for a month. Mercury enters on August 25th and until September 10th. Is the planet of the mind in its domicile in the house of relationships. This is a good time to negotiate, to sign contracts, to look at agreements, discuss what's fair, what's unfair. Your partner might be experiencing a period where they're more like communicative and active somehow. And if you're single, every time I say partner, you can think of people that you are really close with, people who are like a partner to you. Maybe it's your work wife or work husband. Maybe it's your best friend who you see every day and you basically have almost like a married like life together. So that could be a positive time for relationships of all kinds. And finally, on August 28th, we get the last eclipse, final lunar eclipse in Pisces, final eclipse in Pisces in this series as well. Your first house, we are completing the chapter started in September 2024 with the first lunar eclipse in Pisces. And this is all about your identity. This is all about your health and your wellness. How has your identity and health and wellness changed in the last 2 years? Have you gone from working to not working, from being a doctor to being a writer, from being a lawyer to being a stay-at-home mom? What could have changed in your life? And how also has your vitality and your physical health changed? So this eclipse is a completion of that 2-year-long storyline. And of course, it also offers you opportunities to make sort of some final improvements, right? Maybe you're getting over a health situation and you're committing to some kind of, here's what I'm doing. I'm like tearing pieces off because why not? I've been filming for like 3 hours. I'm going to start losing it very soon. But yeah, like what is probably more hours if you consider that I did a live before this also. Okay, focus. I'm with you, Pisces. So yeah, like changes to your health, changes to your diets, changes to your exercise routines, right? You're maybe committing to taking better care of yourself, especially with the lunar eclipse ruled by Jupiter in your 6th house. It's very much like, what do I need to do to feel more energetic? What do I need to do to express my fullest potential? And a lot of times the changes may be very sort of simple, right? Going to bed early, eating healthier, drinking enough water, all of those good things. But I'd love to hear how your life has changed in the last 2 years. Wish me sanity. Share how this resonates, Pisces risings. Visit my website to book a reading and study astrology with me. I did it, just in case you're curious. You can also pick up any of my candles and oils. Any of the Jupiter products or Mars and Scorpio are good for you. And say hello in the comments below. Let me know, how has this last 2 years changed your life? Have they changed your life at all? Let me know if you remember what was happening in 2008, 2009. And yeah, I will see you guys soon. Bye.